Something crazy about my PhD experience. In between getting your master's and your doctoral degree, there's a little thing called a comprehensive exam or a preliminary exam. I failed mine, which means I almost didn't get to the doctoral stage, which means I almost didn't get a PhD. For our prelim exam, we had to write 4 10-page papers in 4 days about 4 different topics of sociology. So I got my doctorate degree in sociology from North Carolina State University. And when I was in prelim season, this is around 2021 when I took it the first time. I had to take it twice. Wild thing is, I didn't know that I only had 2 chances. I thought that I had at least 3, or that I could keep retaking it within that 10-year maximum amount of time to degree. So for my program, you have a maximum of 10 years to complete everything you need to complete. Get your PhD in 10 years. And if you can't do it in 10 years, you're not getting it from here. So I go in my first try at the prelim. I'm over here thinking, yeah, I'm gonna just do it, just get it done. I'm gonna try it. If I don't make it the first time, I'll be okay. It wasn't until I failed when I discovered, wait, no, I only got one more try to do this, which means if I fail again, then that means I'm not getting my PhD from this establishment, from this here university. So let's walk back. Let's think about why I failed the first time. Having explained the process, so you got to write 4 10-page papers in 4 days. This is how it goes in detail. Because I was a student primarily studying social inequality, there were different fields of sociology that you could come in on as a doctoral student or as a master's or doctoral student. My focus area was social inequality, which was pretty broad, and that involved class, gender, race, intersectionality. When you write a paper for your prelim exam, you have 12 hours from the moment that you open up the portal. You have 12 hours to write and submit a 10-page paper about whatever the question is, and you don't know what the question is until you start the exam. And this was a take-home situation, so I was able to do it all virtually or asynchronously, as in do it from home. And you don't know what you're going to write until you see the question. So, with me understanding that process, I was thinking, okay, they're essentially testing how much I can write in 12 hours just off the cuff. Yes, I've had up to that point 3 years of graduate level sociology studies. So when I open up the question, I'm gonna just wing it. more or less. And it's an open book test. So I have access to my notes. I have access to whatever I need. So go ahead. And this is before ChatGPT was a thing the way it is at the time of recording this video, which we're in January 2025. I'm over here taking this exam in 2021, and I'm not using no AI assistance the way most people would think. When I tell you, when I first started that exam on the first try, I was befuddled. I was like, how in the world am I supposed to write 10 pages about this? I was coughing. I was crawling through each of those exam questions. And the wild thing is, by the time I took the prelim, I was actually taking a newer variation of the exam. Before my cohort and before complaints about the prelim process, you had to do 4 10-page papers in 2 days, not 4. So that was even mind-boggling in and of itself, that I was doing the updated version of testing. If the goal is to write essentially 8 to 10 pages, but if the goal is to write 10-page papers, when I tell you I was writing until my fingernails fell off, typing away, and I could still only muster about 5, 6 pages. One of them, was just like, "Look, fam, that's all I got. That's all I got. I don't know what else you want from me. I can't. The pressure is getting worse, and I couldn't see it through." I think the longest paper that I did end up writing was 8 pages. And I think that might have been the paper on race. But all in all, it was tough. It was tough because I didn't know what I didn't know. I went into it thinking, yeah, just go ahead and do what you can. Like the best is to give it what you can. Do your best. You got it. You be all right. I was not all right. So I get the news that I failed, and part of me was like, dang. Then another part of me was like, yeah, that sounds about right. That makes sense. I understand why I failed. That wasn't the devastating part. It was the fact that I only had one more try, and I did not know that going in. It's something that you would think would be flat out, laid out in your face, straight up and down. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's unmistakable that everyone who does this prelim process knows that they only got 2 tries. You think it would be something that my advisor would have told me? Somebody would have told me. I would have found the information myself. I went in blind. I went in with a blindfold on, thinking I knew what was going on. At the discovery that I only had one chance left, ooh, boy. When I tell you everything in my life flipped, I went into full investigator mode, learning everything that there was to possibly know about the prelim exam for my department, for my program, for me to make it into doctoral dissertation land. And the thing is, the way it's set up, because I was doing a dual degree program, I came in straight from undergrad, so I was going to get my master's in sociology along the way en route to get my PhD in sociology. So that middle ground is after you defend your master's thesis, then it's time for you to do was essentially the oral examination and then your prelim examination, which is the written part of the uh, preliminary process. It's all the preliminary process before doctoral dissertation land, essentially. So for us, the oral presentation is your doctoral proposal, like your doctoral dissertation proposal. So that is to give you the green light to say, okay, this is the project that you're going to write your dissertation on. That's the oral examination part of the preliminary process. The written examination of the process, beyond the proposal, is writing that exam of the 4 questions, 10-page paper, 4 10-page papers in 4 days. When I put on my Inspector Gadget trench coat, put my hat on, and I said, what am I supposed to be doing for this exam so that it is impossible for me to fail? Because I don't have failure is not an option. So here's what I did. I talked to every professor who was on my grading committee for my prelim first try. What the way it works is there's 4 professors representing the 4 themes of the 4 papers. I talked to each one who graded my work. I talked to each one who's represented on the committee. So one of them was my faculty advisor, and then the other 3 were other sociology professors within my program, with whom I've taken courses, I've had one-on-one interactions with. So it wasn't out of pocket for me to connect with them about my results. But I talked to each and every one of them and asked, okay, what did I do wrong for this paper? But taking it a step further, asking for advice for what are the common challenges you've seen other grad students hit? What are the common mistakes that they've made when doing the prelim? What does it mean for me to turn my preparation process on its head and do something out of this world to guarantee that I'm a pass? So I talked to them, and then I talked to other grad students who were 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ahead of me, who had taken the prelim, and those who failed the first time that they took the prelim, and then they passed on the second time. I probably talked to maybe 5 or 6 students, and they all ranged from a year ahead of me to maybe 4 years ahead of me. So I'm getting insight from everywhere possible. I even talked to the grad student assistant, like the administrative assistant for the sociology program, asking him for insight. Like what do you know about what's going on with this prelim process? Because I need to know everything possible. Because I cannot fail. I can't. I, there's no option. Failure is not an option. There's no other option other than to pass with flying colors this time. I have 3 key takeaways about the preparation process that sent me over the moon, that made my prelim papers ironclad. It was some of the most growth that I'd had as a social scientist, as a academic writer, as a researcher. So takeaway number 1, for that prelim style of writing, it's not about how much you know off the top on the day of the exam. It's about how much you prepared 3 to 4 months ahead of the exam. Because it's open note, because a lot of it is you referring to research that you've already encountered through coursework or through other uh, writing that you've done, you know, you should know where to find everything. So organizing all of my sources, organizing all of the research that I've encountered from each subfield of sociology, having everything at a moment's notice where like, oh, I know exactly where that paper is. Oh, that thing that they cited, that I cited from 1965 for that one paper that I did for that class that I did in 2019. Oh, I know exactly where that is. It's in my Zotero. So let me go. So Zotero is a citation management tool. It is amazing. It is impeccable. There are many like it. I think Mendeley is another one. And then uh, look it up. It's funny. But Zotero, I use Zotero to this day in my regular day job. I use Zotero for I'm a lifer. I'm using Zotero to the end. So having all of your information organized and readily accessible and categorized in a way where it's easy to say, if I'm writing about this, there's a chance that this information will be useful from this set of writing, from this set of articles, journal articles. The second thing is that they had practice questions. They had an entire bank of every prelim question that was asked or was potentially asked going back to like 2013. Maybe even going back, I mean, maybe even farther than that. But I had, at that moment in time, now we going into like fall, excuse me, we're going into fall 2021 and spring 2022. Bruh, think about it. Prelim questions from 2021 all the way back to 2013. You want to talk about it was a gold mine of what professors were thinking, what they were prioritizing to ask students for the prelim exam. I had no idea it existed. Nobody told me about it before. I didn't know to look for it. So having access to all of those questions, well, as a researcher, I coded every single question from that question bank. I made categories. I made very keen notes about the questions that repeated. Because if this question carried over from 2014, it showed up again in 2016, it showed up again in 2017 and 2018, there's a very high chance that it may carry over again and it may show up on my exam. So digging in to the questions bank changed the entire game. Changed the entire game. The third takeaway was practice questions. Now, having a question bank, getting an idea of what is likely to be asked, cool. But writing, like just the mere act of writing, practicing how to write a 10-page paper in a truncated amount of time that is well organized and flows with a sound with sound arguments and sociological theory. So because I was connecting with other grad students who passed on the first try and then also failed and passed on the second try, I asked for their written exams. And I had maybe 3 or 4 students send me their exact prelims. And it was like, that was another treasure trove because I was seeing how other people wrote. I was learning about how to craft a prelim essay, a winning prelim essay. And it was incredible because I was stretching as a writer. I was learning what it really took to do it well. And above all, with these practice questions, they were adding to the open notes that I could use and re recycle when it actually came time for test day. And given learning how to actually write it out, what I did was I did it in stages. Where I first just studied what does a winning essay look like across each category, across each subfield of sociology. And then I also did it where I would write in an untimed manner. So let's say I took maybe a week to write out a 10-page paper, took my time, understood how to do it, got the muscle memory down for, okay, when I get to this part, I do this. When I get to this part, I do that. Here's how I close it out. Boom. And then I shrunk the time down. So instead of taking 7 days, okay, now I'm going to only take 3. Okay, now I'm only going to take 24 hours. Okay, now I'm only going to take 12. And now I'm going to test. Now I'm going to practice under testing conditions. Y'all, y'all, my prelim process was the most formative educational exercise that I've ever endured in my life. It taught me so much about myself. Taught me so much. I can literally remember being on the floor in my office and my then girlfriend slash then fiance throughout the duration of the process would come in and see me literally like tired as if I just did a half marathon and all I was doing was typing on a laptop, but my brain was fried, feeling like I just went 8 rounds, 9 rounds with Mike Tyson, old school Mike Tyson, not the one that fought Jake Paul. Anyway, it was it was amazing because when I actually got to test day, oh, I was ready. I was more than ready. And every single paper that I wrote was minimum 8 pages. Every single thing was 8 to 10 pages, right on the dot for the requirements. And you know what was even the icing on the cake? I even used portions of my prelim exam in my doctoral dissertation because a lot of the stuff that pertain to theory and just pointing out different aspects of sociological thought, social institutions, and how they play out. There were so many things that I could pull specifically from the sociology of race and a little bit from gender, not much from the class question, but I did pull some from the international intersectionality section from what I actually wrote for my exam and for the practice questions that I wrote. I was able to pull all that stuff and apply it and, you know, make it appropriate for my dissertation for the front end of it. And my goodness, it was such a streamlined process. All that preparation, I was able to repurpose that work and keep it going. In the same way that I was able to expand on my master's thesis, my doctoral dissertation. Nothing goes to waste. Now, nothing goes to waste. So this is for all the people out there who hit a little bit of adversity along their PhD journey. Just know that if you can shenan once, you're gonna shenan again. Nah, but if you fail along the way, it's okay. It builds character. I got enough of it for both of us. Now, I'm also curious to hear what other people who have been going through the academic woes, the academic trenches, academic pitfalls, whether it be for a master's, a PhD, JD, MBA, TLC, NWA, whatever it is. Put it in the comments. I'm curious about everybody else's story. But thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of this. Even if you're not even in grad school, there was a nugget in there for you. There was a word. There was a word in there for you. So y'all be easy.